So now we're going to look at the clutch alignment tool. Yeah, that's it right there. And what this boils down to, we have the narrow end down here. This part back to this shoulder. This part here would fit inside the bearing, which is in the flywheel. The next section, this part here, this is the same diameter as our cardan shaft. Now, not the high point here, but the low point down at the bottom of your spline. So this part here is the same diameter as this part sticking out here. This part, the same as the lower part of your spline. This part here is also the same as the clutch drive shaft or the gearbox drive shaft here. The lower part of it, the spline down here. That's what this dimension is. And then the final dimension here, back here, all that fits into the bearing that is in our pressure plate. As we look at this, the larger part is the same size as the bearing down in here. And so it will fit in there. And that would be the other way around. I have to do it this way because it's too long to fit in there. So that fits into your bearing. We have our friction plate for the cardan shaft. The smaller part fits in there, like so. The larger part back here fits the friction plate for the gearbox, like so. And when all this goes together, it will align everything so that you can tighten all of it down, and once you start tightening the pressure plate down, then all this stuff is going to, by the spring load of the pressure plate, it's all going to be squeezed together, and it will hold in place once we have it all bolted down. But in order to bolt it down, we got to use one of these alignment tools. Now, there have been people I've seen that have used the actual shafts, your cardan shaft and the main drive shaft coming out of the clutch for the gearbox to line these things up. But we had the tool made, and this is obviously the drawing is in the manuals there. We've seen those before. We'll put a picture of that up. But it's a very handy tool, and we are going to proceed with using it to put the clutch back together. So we're looking at our friction discs to the Livedrive clutch on the 880. These are the two that I took out of it back in August of 21. These are not the original. The clutch was replaced in May, I believe it was, of 73. After just 5 years of use, they replaced the clutches in them, the discs in them. And this, of course, is the ones that we put in. Now, these have the 280 hours on. This one here does. This is your larger one as far as the splines. This operates the gearbox. It goes in the back of the clutch. And then this is the smaller spline for the cardan shaft, and it operates the PTO. So you can see how they are pretty much, they're pretty much identical, even though they're several years, several decades apart in manufacturing. These discs, obviously they're not wore down. There's still quite a bit of surface on them. They were oily. We did have problems with the oil leak, the rear main seal, and I believe the cardan shaft. I think it leaked oil too out of our gearbox. We had a lot of oil in that system. The one thing though that I ran into on these discs, particularly the main drive disc here, is when I ordered a set for them, they there again tell you that they fit David Brown, which it will fit. The spline matches up perfectly and all that. The problem we have is this row of rivets right around the outside here. And if we stand it up and look at it, those rivets are a little bit proud of the plate that they are riveted into. So right there, they're sticking up too far on all those. And what you want is one like this to where they are recessed or flush mounted back in there. Now the other side, of course, has the wide rivet, the wide head on it, which this side does as well. But it's this side here. Now if you install this clutch disc in the system, these are going to rub into your separator plate, because this would be the back of it. This would be this would be the engine side of it, and this would face toward the gearbox. So that was something that thankfully I took it to Fort Wayne clutch and drive shaft to have it. I took the flywheel, the pressure plate, and the separator plate and all that in to have it machined and gone over. And they actually noticed it. One of their guys noticed it and said, if you would have used that, it would have just chewed up the separator plate. And they actually had one, and this one is, where's it at? Right there it says England. So this is one from England. And of course it says flywheel side there as well, so you know that that goes toward the engine side of it. But yeah, something you want to make sure that you double check when you order these clutch pieces. There again, just like the gasket stuff, hey, it fits David Brown, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work on it. Alrighty then, so let's go ahead and let's put this Livedrive clutch system back together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our clutch alignment tool. The narrow end here will fit into the spigot bearing here at the end, just like so, right? The first thing we want to do, we're going to get our plates over here, because these have to be put in order, and I don't have them right. So we have engine side, plainly marked on this one. What we're going to do is we're going to put this one on. Now they marked engine side on this one, but it actually is wrong, because this side says on here flywheel side down there. Pretty hard to read it, but right down here it says flywheel side. So that goes toward the flywheel. So we're going to put it on here like so. I'm going to set this off to the side. We have our 3 springs for the separator plate, and it pushes the separator plate outwards so that when the clutch is released, the pedal is all the way released, that separator plate will come out and thus release its pressure on that. I don't think that's going to sit in there. Maybe it will. All right, we'll put that in there. Oh. And we'll get our separator plate here. Ah, boy, which is kind of heavy. Just kind of wipe them off. They are clean. Now, we have a mark right up here that coincides with a mark on here. And what I did is I took the a marker, permanent marker, and I did that. And this just is kind of a gear fit. It fits together. Now see, the springs want to push that back out, right? So that's how it's going to release with the clutch mechanism. Now we take our tool here, which has the outer wheel on it. We're going to put it into the inner shaft. We raise that up, and now we've got it locked into the spigot bearing. So all this stuff is lined up so that the tractor can be reassembled, and our cardan and our clutch main drive shaft there will line up in here. And it'll stay lined up once we tighten the pressure plate down. So we'll get the plate, and we've got 2 locating studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're off-centered. You've got 4 bolts on one side, and you've got 5 bolts on the other. So that helps you to line it up. And that will help us to line it up with the alignment tool. don't think the bolts are long enough. Yeah, they are. What I want to do is get a bolt in there to help hold it in place. Like so. And then we line that up and we push this in. And we're going to start putting the bolts in. Now what's going to happen is as we tighten our bolts up, the pressure is going to be released on our 3 release levers here as this is compressed together. And these nuts that we have in here to hold it all together are going to fall out. But we got to get it together here first. The main problem with this clutch system, it's so daggone heavy. Heavy, as my grandson would have said when he was 1.5 years old. And it makes it very difficult to do anything with it. Wrestle it around and all that. We get these bolts put on here. Wish I had a scale out here. I'd have weighed these parts individually, but I don't. I don't have scales that will weigh it. And what has happened is I've lost the lock washer, oddly enough, off the first 2 bolts we put in. We want to make sure we've got all that. And I take the bolts and I put them in plastic Ziploc bags as I take things apart. It's much easier to locate everything once you go back to putting it back together. Now when I did the original restoration, I actually had all the parts in bags, and we labeled each bag for what it was. And you want to do a diagonal crisscross tightening of these because you don't want to distort the plate. And as this is beginning to pressurize against the 2 friction plates, then it will not, the plates will hold themselves in place, so then you can put the tractor back together without having the tool stuck in here. No, it's just a matter of being patient with it, bolting it on there. nuts fell out. There, the other nut fell out. And there, the other one's loose. That means that we are pressurized. The whole thing is pushed together. And ready to go to work. Now we go around here, just kind of snug these up. We'll come back and we will get the torque setting on it. And go around and torque it down. I think it's only, oh gosh, I think it's only 20 pounds torque on these things. We'll check that and see. Okay, like so. Pull that out, clean it off, and as we look in there, we see that we are lined up. We have all the way back here, we have our smaller shaft in here, our smaller spline for the cardan, the larger one for the drive shaft, and then of course the spigot bearing is all the way in the back. So that's all there is to that. And we will come back and do a torque setting on this, and then this is ready to try to go ahead and put the two halves back together here after a little bit more preparation. But our blocking nuts fell out of there as the pressure, now that's all squeezed together so those discs won't flop around in there. Now we start loosening this up, back up, and those discs are going to drop down because of gravity. And that's why you need the alignment tool to keep everything in alignment as you put it together. Okay, so this is going to be 20 to 25 pounds is what we're doing here. Around it again. Just to make sure. All right. Whew, there we go. Just like that.